All right, hey guys, happy, what is this, Monday? It's funny because all of the days kind of just end up blurring together when you work every day. Cool, so what am I doing today? So as you'll see from the schedule that I'm gonna post here, today I just woke up and immediately got into it, which was incredible from a productivity standpoint. Again, as I mentioned in another video, just getting the momentum going is absolutely critical. So I made a lot of really great progress on the business plan. Specifically, I have all of the content. I had all of the content in it for a while, and now it's just going through and editing, making sure that I challenge all of my assumptions, and I'm actually going to make a sort of semi-major shift in my product strategy focus, which is instead of having both a sort of quasi meetup and quasi next door component, the data really suggested that I should really just focus on the meetup component, since I asked, it was 43 people in a product market fit interview survey to allocate 100 different points between the main different features that I was weighing within Coin, and 27% of all of the points got allocated toward meeting new Catholics in particular, as opposed to meeting new people in general, which I think got like 7%. And then the second most popular of 25% of the points was to be able to better know what's going on around me and to find interesting things to do. So rather than allocate or spend a lot of time trying to develop this extra value add, which isn't really apparently all that important to our users, we're going to focus instead entirely exclusively on the thing that they've really indicated is what they really care about. And I think this is a really important lesson. This can be the lesson of the day, I guess, which is to not to, especially in the beginning of startups, be ruthlessly discriminatory against features that add value but are not core to the central problem. For instance, there's a competitor that I'm keeping tabs on that is trying to do everything. And when you try to do everything, you're just not going to be able to do anything really well. And especially, users have to get to know you, right? It's kind of like dating. Like, you don't want to spread out like everything. You don't want to talk about everything right away, right? You want to sort of lure them in with something that's like really attractive, really good, and then from that, build on and add other stuff. And then maybe you can explore other things or get into other things and increase their commitment levels. But at the beginning, you really want to make sure that you focus on, at least with users, this is kind of where the analogy breaks down. You want to focus on the thing that they really care about. Add in that other stuff later, but focus on the stuff that you really care about. So beyond that, of course, you see in my schedule that I've allocated time, obviously, for YouTube, as I try to do every day. Since I work from home, I always try to do it during off hours. Working off hours for a number of different things is always great. That's why I'm going to Costco later today during off hours, so I can just get in, get out, and maximize the time that I have to work. And then, yeah, just working. So finishing up the business plan today, which I hope to review with the guy who I hope will be my lead investor. Hopefully after seeing it, he'll like the plan, believe in it, and feel more comfortable in the risk profile of the investment, and therefore be willing to take a higher valuation, i.e. get less of the company for the money that he's gonna put in. Beyond that, there are a couple of things that I really wanna do today, which is one, test my assumption around parishes. Parishes are going to be a big part of my business model. It's a B2B, business to business model, sort of. Namely, I want to see their willingness around trying new platforms, adoption rates, things like that. I don't think they're going to be particularly on board because parishes, these are churches for those of you who aren't Catholic and don't know, tend to be a little bit more litigical, scared of technology, obstinate, set in their ways and whatnot. So I don't think it's going to be a perfectly representative survey, if you will, but this is obviously a huge component of my business plan, and I'd be a fool to not at least check those premises preliminarily. Of course, again, we'll check them later. Then the second thing that I want to do is talk to my users a little bit more. Let me see if I can remember exactly my task list. What am I asking them? Yeah. Whenever I get in front of the camera, it's like you think about getting in front of the camera, and then by thinking about it, you forget the thing that you're supposed to focus on. The main thing that I want to ask them is around how they want to meet new Catholics, because obviously there's a strong and basically universal interest in meeting new Catholics. Interestingly to note, the product market fit survey that I sent out actually had a pretty good representation between age groups. So it spanned from like 20-year-olds to I think like 50-year-olds. So obviously not representative, obviously didn't have enough people to be representative, but interesting preliminary results. So like even though all of them want to meet new Catholics, the question still remains of through what means do they want to meet Catholics? Because right now I'm assuming that they'd be interested in meeting Catholics through these groups that I'm going to be setting up, which now it's looking like Coin is basically just going to be a Catholic version of Meetup with a longer term strategy to expand into other categories. But will they actually want to meet through the groups like I postulate they will? That's a big untested question, and it'd be easy to just skip over it. But it's imperative if you're going to be a good founder and a good entrepreneur, and especially all the more if you're going to be a sole founder, is to be ruthlessly honest with yourself and be incredibly thorough about understanding every single variable that you can. And so, yeah, I need to test against my users and say like, hey, would you actually want to meet them this way? And before actually even biasing them, just ask, hey, how would you ideally want to meet these people? And then cross my fingers, hope that it aligns to my hypothesis. But if it doesn't, need to be willing to change my hypothesis. Again, it's just a hypothesis. Like, don't get emotionally invested to the things that you're theorizing. At the end of the day, one of the hallmarks of a great entrepreneur, since entrepreneurship these days is honestly basically just a scientific method applied to the market economy in an applied fashion, it really just comes down to you have to be a great scientist, which is test your assumptions, try to prove your hypothesis wrong, and when the data point you in a different direction, follow them. Follow the data, whatever you do. Obviously, there will be times when your users won't be able to predict exactly what they actually want. Like if you ask people, the classic example is if you'd ask people before Henry Ford what they wanted, they'd probably say faster horses, right? But clearly he knew that what users really wanted was a better way to get from point A to point B, and so he invented cars. You get the idea. But in general, you have to follow the data. So those are some of the main things that I'm working on today, as you can see from my task list. That's really what I'm focusing on today. It's been a pretty good, pretty productive first half of the day. So I'm gonna go work out, do a little shopping right now, take a little mental break, because I find that my productivity levels tend to atrophy pretty quickly beyond maybe like 4 or 5 hours. I tend to get distracted more easily. I become a little bit more lethargic. Whereas if I inject some breaks into the day, whether it's reading, hanging out with friends, playing with my pup, or especially working out, especially productive things, I find is a nice little injection of, I don't know what you call it, like adrenaline. I guess just like that additional like spin of the momentum of keeping things going. So that's what I'm working on today. Really hope to get all the things done today. Again, I really need to focus on getting better at being more consistent and just churning out results. Because right now I'm just not moving fast enough. But today's a step in the right direction. So take it easy.